Alright, so let's talk about South Africa, my home. It's a beautiful place, truly, but we have this one tiny little problem. The lights keep going out, and the company behind this magic trick is called Eskom. Now you have to understand, Eskom wasn't always this unreliable. For decades it was the opposite. Eskom was a source of immense national pride. It was the engine of the economy, a symbol of progress and modernity. It built massive power stations that were engineering marvels, providing some of the cheapest and most reliable electricity in the world. It powered mines, factories, and lit homes from Cape Town to Polokwane. When you flicked a switch, the lights came on every time. But somewhere along the line, things started to change. The gears of this well-oiled machine began to grind. The promise started to flicker. The people in charge started looking at it less like a public service and more like a personal ATM. The focus shifted from generating power for the nation to generating wealth for a select few. Envelopes stuffed with cash, a hero's journey, but in reverse. Eskom was heading for a villain arc. The company that once symbolized a bright future started to become a symbol of something much darker. So how did our hero, Eskom, fall from grace? It wasn't a single event. It was more like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Except the paper was tender documents, and the cuts were billion-rand deals. Starting around the 2010s, a new culture began to fester. Political influence became the most valuable currency. People with friends in high places started getting very, very rich. The company embarked on building 2 huge coal power stations, Medupi, Kusile. On paper, great news. More power, wrong. It was the start of a disaster. Costs ballooned from billions to hundreds of billions of rands. Contracts went to the best connected, not the best. You hire your cousin who never held a hammer but promises a kickback. You get an expensive, crooked house. Eskom buys a lot of coal. You'd expect good coal. Politically connected miners got huge contracts. They supplied dirty coal at inflated prices that damaged plants, like putting sand in your car's gas tank. Systematic looting devastated the utility. Skilled engineers who raised alarms were pushed out. Expertise drained. The institution was hollowed out, its ethical compass shattered. Now you might be hearing this term, state capture. It sounds like something from a spy movie, but it's closer than you think. State capture is when a small group of private individuals, often with corrupt politicians, steer institutions to enrich themselves. At the heart of South Africa's state capture saga were the Gupta family. They became incredibly close to then-President Jacob Zuma. They allegedly used this relationship to influence appointments across government, including state-owned firms like Eskom. Eskom, with its massive budget and endless contracts, became their crown jewel. They managed to get associates appointed to the Eskom board and to key executive positions. Suddenly, those in charge weren't working for the country, they were working for private interests. For example, the Guptas bought a coal mine, and Eskom awarded them a massive, overpriced contract to supply coal. They were even given hundreds of millions of rands as a prepayment. A multinational consulting firm was paid obscene fees for advising, fees that allegedly produced little value and generated kickbacks. This wasn't a few bad apples, the whole orchard was poisoned. Public money flowed into private pockets. Rules were bent so the referees couldn't call the fouls. Eskom became a piggy bank, every decision was compromised. While a few got wealthy, the institution itself was bled dry. Deliberately bad decisions pushed Eskom closer to collapse. Soon the consequences of those whispers would be felt by everyone. A silent coup, not with soldiers but with accountants and crooked executives. And soon the nation was being plunged into darkness and uncertainty. So, what happens when you systematically break your country's most important company? You get load shedding. That's the polite term for rolling blackouts. When Eskom's broken, poorly maintained plants can't generate enough, they turn parts of the country off. For 2 hours, 4 hours, sometimes 8 hours a day. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a national crisis. Businesses can't operate, students can't study, hospitals rely on generators. The financial cost is staggering. Eskom is drowning in over 400 billion rands of debt. Money borrowed to build corrupt over-budget stations is now a millstone. And who pays? The South African taxpayer. We pay twice, through blackouts that cripple our economy and through government bailouts. Growth shrinks, jobs disappear, and investment walks away. It's a vicious cycle of decay, a brutal lesson in how quickly things can fall apart. Corruption in one institution can hold a nation hostage. It erodes trust and discourages investment. It robs a generation of its future. This is not an abstract problem for politicians to debate. It's a fight for survival. Strengthening institutions, accountability, and the rule of law matter. Audit work, inquiries, and holding officials to account are essential steps. These are the pillars that hold a society up. It's a fight for the right to have the light stay on. For the chance to build and to hope, and that's a fight worth having.